Alrighty, it is time for another horror film review. So today we're going to be talking about another older Italian film. Everybody seems to like those. I really like them as well. And this is one that I was not super familiar with. I actually didn't hear about it until recently, and I just recently picked it up. Well, let me preface that I've heard about it before, but I never really got around to watching it, and I happened to look the DVD up, and it was fairly cheap, so I was like, screw it, I'll go ahead and pick it up, and I really enjoyed it. And the movie I'm talking about is The Antichrist from 1974. It's directed by Alberto De Martino, and he's done a few other things. Nothing that I've really seen, off the top of my head. Whenever I was looking at them earlier, this movie stars Carla Gravini Ferrer. I think is how you say that. I'm sorry if I mispronounced it. Arthur Kennedy and Alida Valli. So, like I said, it is an Italian film. So there is some dubbing and things like that, just getting that out of the way. But that's not a bad thing. We all don't mind the dubbing so much. But the first thing that I'll really say in this movie or about this movie is if you look it up anywhere. The first thing you'll see is usually the 2009 film Antichrist by Lars von Trier, which I also have that movie, and that's a really good movie, a really brutal movie. But maybe we'll talk about that one day. But that's usually the first thing that comes up is Antichrist from 2009, and then whenever you actually start reading into like reviews and stuff of this movie, the main thing that you're going to see is a lot of people saying it was an Exorcist ripoff, and I don't really think that it's, to me personally, I don't really think it's an Exorcist ripoff necessarily. I'll get into that, in a little bit. It did come out the next year after The Exorcist. So The Exorcist was in 1973. This one was in 1974. So they did come out, back to back whenever that the demon possession thing was just, kind of fresh in everybody's mind. But in my opinion, it is quite different, and I'll get into the differences, at the end of this, or kind of how I feel that this movie is a great kind of standalone film, and it shouldn't be it shouldn't be compared, to The Exorcist a lot. But anyway, the plot to this movie is basically about it is this woman, who is Carla Gravini, and she is wheelchair bound. She had an accident when she was younger, I believe, and she. For one reason or another, I think she's speaking to a psychic medium, and she gets into contact with somebody in her bloodline. It's a demon or something that's connected to her through the past, and it leads to a great little flashback sequence that we get, and we get some really really cool shit. The whole orgy and goats and frogs and the naked woman at the altar. It's great. That whole flashback sequence is awesome. Anyway, she becomes possessed, and then she just starts acting really wild, very overly sexual, and it's very, in your face, and she does some really nasty things, says some really nasty things, and of course it goes further down the line, and there is sorry, I can't talk. There's an exorcism in this one is what it leads up to, but it's not so much really the forefront of the movie, like I feel like the film The Exorcist was. This one, we just kind of lead into that, and that is kind of the the final kind of thing that the final fight, I guess, in this movie. But it's just done very differently, and I really like the way they did it. The woman Carla, Gravini, she plays she plays the character, excellently. You honestly feel really sorry for her in a lot of scenes, and she is a grown woman, and so she does some more grown woman things, of course, than you would see in The Exorcist, which again. Take that for what you will. But she is, like I said, you really kind of feel bad for her in this predicament that she's going through. And, she's a great actor. All the actors are just fine. And, the sets are amazing. This movie's just really pretty to look at. Of course, it has that old kind of, that the directing style, Alberto De Martino, his directing style in this movie is great. I think it's amazing. A lot of really pretty colors, a lot of vibrant colors, bright reds, things like that. I really enjoy that. A lot of really grotesque things in this movie too. A lot of really kind of vile stuff is going on. Subject matter, included. If you're sensitive and you're religious, of course this movie will be really blasphemous, but I think the blasphemy stuff that they do in this movie is great. I think it's excellent. A lot of fun. If you're in the mood for just an old school kind of cult demon possession movie, this is, definitely check this one out, especially if you're an Italian horror fan, but not only if you're if you're just a horror fan in general and you like this type of movie, pick this one up, or watch it. It's on, I believe it's on Tubi, if I'm not mistaken, but it's just directed great. The plot is very interesting. You get some great violence, some great cult stuff going on. The biggest, I guess flaw you could say, if you want to call it that, is this movie is kind of slow starting out, but once it really picks up, it really starts moving very quickly, and we really kind of get into once we get into the demon possession stuff, it really kind of picks up from there, and it's great. And I don't ever think that that's a bad thing. I guess it just depends on the film, really and truly. But you do get kind of a slow build up to this, but not as slow as some other films. Of course. And then once you really get into it, it really held my attention, big time. It's a really good time. Great music in this movie too. This movie is done by Ennio Morricone, who is, I think, to me, most famous for doing, The Good, the Bad, the Ugly, that soundtrack, a lot of spaghetti western soundtracks. He's an excellent musician, but he did the music for this movie, and it turned out great. It's very, very, very eerie. That's one thing I will say about this movie that I prefer over the Exorcist. As far as comparisons go and stuff, because I don't prefer this movie to the Exorcist, but this is a really good movie, and if anything, I think it's a good pairing piece. But I'll get into that in a minute. But this one, I really feel like I prefer the music in this movie. It was very creepy. It fit the atmosphere. It's a lot of string and kind of violin music, and it was just very, very eerie. I love that kind of music. I love the setting. I like the characters. I like the story. It's a really good movie. So if you can't tell, I'm already going to rate it pretty high. I'm going to give it a 4.5 out of 5 because I really dig this movie a lot. Like I said, especially even after seeing it for the first time fairly recently, it's just a great classic kind of anything that whatever you could ask for from an old school kind of demon possession movie. I really enjoyed it, and so like I said. In the beginning of the video, this movie gets compared a lot to the Exorcist. I'll show it to you again, just because I'm just talking, whatever. But anyway, this movie gets compared a lot to the Exorcist, and I could see that, I guess, especially it coming out the next year and being about similar things and similar themes, in this movie, obviously demon possession being the main one. I could see that comparison, but it's a completely different plot. Besides the demon possession thing, it's a different, the cult things that go on in this movie are very different. The violence and kind of the plot leading up to the exorcism is completely different. But at the what it all boils down to is they are both, I guess, exorcism movies, and that's what people see. And a lot of some of the not a lot, but some of the effects in this movie are kind of similar to the Exorcist. Like I don't want to spoil anything, but of course we get the head turn in this movie, that kind of effect, and that was done. I really liked the way it was done in this movie. I thought it was really cool. And I won't say who it is. I'm not going to say if it's a possessed girl or who it is, but we get the little famous kind of head twist, almost in a way, and I thought it was super cool, and it was a lot of fun. So you get that, and then you get the puke, of course. The pea soup. The green puke or whatever, so you get that a little bit, done in a completely different way, again from The Exorcist, and then of course you get the levitating also done in a completely different way, which. So I guess, like I said, at the end of the day, if you want to just chalk them both up to demon possession movies, then sure, where it starts out, a woman becomes possessed, and then she kind of goes kind of crazy and then becomes Satan and it has to be, exorcised. If you want to boil it down to that, then yeah, I mean, sure, it is an Exorcist ripoff, because it came off it came out the year later. But if you really dig into it and you kind of look at it and you watch it for what it is and something different, to me, it is not the Exorcist ripoff at all. It is the Antichrist, 100%. It is definitely a great little standalone Italian film. I really enjoy it a lot. I think that I think it's getting a little bit more popular nowadays, but that's kind of, I guess, how I heard about it. I don't remember how I heard about this movie, honestly, but like I said, it was fairly recent that I checked this one out, and it's a great one to watch this time of year. It's getting into the spooky season. It's getting a little cooler outside, and that's usually whenever I like to watch kind of haunted house, demon possession type movies. The Changeling, that's a good one. The Exorcist, that's a good one to watch. With this one, actually, so that was something I said a minute ago. I feel like this movie would make a really good, like, if you're doing like a double feature night at home or something, and you just want to watch a couple movies back to back. I feel like watching The Exorcist and then putting on The Antichrist would be a good time. I feel like that would be a lot of fun. I think they would pair really well together because of course they're dealing with very similar themes, just done in a different way. Or you could have even billed this as The Exorcist 2, and it would have been, that could have worked too. But I don't think that it's just a straight ripoff of that movie. But it is a good film. I absolutely think everyone should check this one out. Great music, great atmosphere, great camera work. The director did a phenomenal job in this movie. Fairly good acting, fairly good dubbing. It's not awful. I know not everybody likes the dubbing, but we like it here, all right. A lot of these movies are dubbed, or most of these movies, if not all of them, like these Italian movies are dubbed. But anyway, so I'll let you check the DVD out one more time. Like I said, I haven't. This one was really cheap. It was like $5. I was happy I got it so cheap. I don't know if it's highly sought after or expensive or anything anywhere else, but. It's good. It's a Kino Lorber one, and so it's kind of plain. There's not much to it. I mainly bought this version because I like the cover art that they have on this one. I think it's creepy. It's a little bit misleading, just a little, but I still think it's cool. I think it looks nice, and the title, The Antichrist. That sounds really. It's a cool movie. I really like it. Definitely check it out. Like I said, this time of year. So yeah, that about wraps it up for me. Stay tuned for the next video, and this has been The Antichrist. Goodbye.